Hello everybody, welcome to the show. With this show, I like to help people avoid some of the truly awful tattoo artists that are out there. But at the same time, I'm going to try to teach you how to find the best artist that could be for your tattoo. So stick around, because this week I got a request from one of our viewers that we check out some artists in the small town that he lives in New Mexico. And to be honest, I actually found some incredible artists in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, just some real killers out there. But as for the small town of Espanola, well, I found something a little different out there. So, stick around, guys. I'm gonna break it down. Alright, let's go. Let's kick it off. This is Louise Colon, I think, or Colon? I'm not sure how to say it. I'm sorry, man. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing it. But Louise and his wife here, I blurred her out because this review is not about her, but they are a husband and wife team out of New Mexico there. And if you want to check them out, you can check them out at king-louise-tattoo-shop.business.site. Just so you know, guys, I see a lot of these Google-made sites, and it seems more often than not, if it's for a tattoo shop, I'm not going to like what I find inside. So just fair warning, that's a really easy tell right off the bat if they don't have a professional website. Also, you can check them out at King Louis Tattoo Parlor on Facebook there. He also has Instagram, Juno, Huiem on Instagram. Go ahead and check it out, because he's got some artwork worth looking at, I think. Let's kick it off with some Biggie Smalls. Now, right off the bat, Louis is one of these artists that I think deceive people a little bit, or that could be deceiving to a client. Let me say it that way. Because right off the bat, if you look at this from a distance, you might think like, oh, that's Biggie Smalls for sure. That's a great portrait. Zooming in, you can see some major problems, though, mainly with the white in the whites of the eyes. I harp about this all the time. You do not want an artist that does this. This looks good the day of, will not look good 2 weeks from now. That white is not going to be bright white anymore. And not to mention with this one, it just gives them this weird sort of like ghost in the dark vibe. It's so dark black heavy, and then the eyes are just so bright white. I don't know. But King Louis, let me talk to you about this crown, man. Come on, for a king, you should be putting out a little bit better crowns than this. Look at this weird, just cheaply dotted effect right here. Very inconsistent with the moldings here, and the gems, they're shaded way different. Not to mention this heavy dark black backdrop. I don't know why any artist would do this. Maybe this is a cover up of something here. That's the only reason it would make sense to just put this weird sort of squared off heavy black backdrop. But I really don't like that it's not faded out. That's just a really quick version of a backdrop, and very disappointing. He did a lot of animals, and I'm going to show you quite a few of them, but they all look very much the same kind of lumpy, clumpy hair, and I don't know why. It's just really a cheap, quick version of hair. Also, this wolf doesn't have nostrils. What is that about, Louis? Give the guy some nostrils, let him breathe a little bit. Also, why is there so much blood in this image? Just wipe it down before you take a picture, jeez. But also, I've seen this a lot in his animal portraits. You'll see this too. These teeth in the front right here, they're all kind of perfect, as if these animals had braces. They're all the exact same shaped tooth. No bigger, smaller, none angled. They're all just the same size tooth. But I really just hated seeing this clumpy hair effect. This is just so cheaply done, so quick, rushed through. And man, he does a lot of lions, and you're gonna see the same shit over and over again on these lions. First off, the mouth, blacked out completely. You lose all that detail. No tongue or gums or nothing, just blacked out. That is just the simple, quick way to do it. Very obvious tell to anybody looking for an artist if they just want to black out the mouth because they don't want to do that tight detail. That's a really big red flag. But also, here's these perfectly straight teeth in the front again. Really weird there. Yeah, the clumpy, bumpy hair. Strange. And again with the crown, look at this crown. How inconsistent is this? Just as quick as you could do it. These gems, definitely not circles. These diamonds here, the line work looks like a little blown out on them. Some have dark lines, some don't have lines at all. But the fleur-de-lis pattern up here, look at this. Okay, this one folds forward, this one folds backward, these two fold forward, and these ones don't fold at all. What is that? Come on, take a little bit of time, put the consistency in there, especially guy calling himself King Louis. You gotta give guys amazing crowns. Here it is again. It's almost the identical crown. Well, first off, let's look at the lion. Same thing as the last couple ones. Big, giant whiskers that are black outlined, only a few on each side. And then the face has no real definition. Where's the bridge of the nose? Where's the sides of the cheeks? You just can't tell. You just put some like black in here in randomized places. But again, with this crown, it's almost identical to the last one. Same exact crown pattern. The fleur-de-lis again. This one's filled in right here. This one's filled in right here. This one's not filled in. What is that? I don't understand. Like, I feel like he's just rushing really quick through these things. Not to mention all of them on the whiskers. I'm going to go back to this one real quick. The whiskers, he just black outlines them, 2 black outlines, and then tries to blast white over top of his black shading afterwards. Just, again, a really cheap, quick effect. This side has black dots where the whiskers come out. This one has like shaded blotches where they come out. I just, very, very disappointing. Here's another one where him and his wife collabed on it, and honestly, I saw a lot of his wife's work. She does a lot of this kind of floral pattern stuff. Really kind of smooth, clean outline. I like this dotted shading in there. I could absolutely tell this was hers. He put in the post that it was a collaboration between the two of them, and I could absolutely tell that this was all Louise. Sorry. Yeah, again, black outline on the whiskers, just a few, 5 whiskers here, 5 whiskers there, just really thick whiskers. Same thing, the eyes do not match. The ridge of the eyebrow here comes in on this side, it doesn't come in on this side, and this clumpy, bumpy hair again. Really cheap, quick effect just to get that hair in and over with. And I think you cannot rush it. If you're telling your clients that you can do realism, you can do stuff like this, you can't be cheaping out on those kind of things. Here was a cover-up of, oh my god, what is this? Oh, that's Jesus wearing some kind of hat or something. That's a new one to me. I don't know what that is, but in his version over here where he's trying to cover it up, you can absolutely see the cover-up in the backdrop. I'm not sure what he's got planned here. You can tell it's not finished piece, but again, he did the same thing. A few simple giant whiskers, blacks out the mouth, and yeah, just this kind of clumpy, wispy hair in the back. This one doesn't even have hair in the background. Yeah, he just totally skipped the hair. But he definitely cheaped out on the down feathers on this eagle's head. But again, you can see the cover-up behind. Very easy to tell this was a cover-up. I'm not sure what he's got planned for the rest down here, but yeah, you can always see the cover-ups behind it. He does a lot of cover-up stuff, and in almost every single one, I could see the old tattoo through it. But it's because he's just rushing through doing these cheap effects for like these feathers here, over and over and over again. I saw that same thing, just rushed through. This is a really strange-looking eagle. Not sure, oh goodness, man, that's a weird sort of abstract idea, but when you zoom in on these feathers, you can see just really cheaply done, quick little looped feathers with no texture whatsoever in the inside. Just shaded real quick, dark near the inside, whipped out to light. But I could tell throughout all of his pieces, light gray is not his thing. Medium, light gray, it seems like he struggles with every single piece. But you can tell he likes to do it, heavy, dark, black stuff. And from a distance, that might look good. But once we get up close, it's the kind of thing that makes it very obvious that he's not taking his time. Oh my goodness, that is just an ugly looking eagle's face, man. And then I kind of, this whole time I've been feeling like he rushes these. That's his problem. It's not necessarily a technical aspect or anything, it's just that he's rushing through them. I mean, there's definitely some application errors, and I could definitely help him improve with those, but when it comes to these things, all these large pieces, he's just rushing through and doing these quick, simple backdrops. Like, these rays are just so cheaply done. You can see here he outlined some of them, but then around the outer side, nope. No more. He just kind of whipped them in there unevenly. And I hate to see these cheap cloud effects. You see this so often. A lot of artists that are rushing through it, or they're maybe just not good at designing tattoos, they put a lot of these really cheap bubble clouds in there. I'm also not a fan of how dark he did the halo here. These thorns, just no reason to make them silhouetted or black, especially when his face is light in the foreground. When these are in front of his face, they should be light as well. Just doesn't make any sense. Again, with the hair, just very clumpy. But on this one, I got a little bit of proof, because when he posted it, he says, not bad for a first session, hour and a half? What? Somebody wants a quarter of their arm done, and you blast it out in an hour and a half? That's no wonder. That's your problem right there, Luis. Man, that's just way too fast to be blasting somebody half of their arm like that. That's just insane to me that you wouldn't take more time. I mean, did the kid come in with $100 and say, give me a sleeve, and you just said, I'll see what I can do? Bam, whipped it out. But yeah, I just see so many errors here. Look at the strange loop in his nostril there. Again, he whited out the eyes like I always say never to do. And when it came to the beard, he put very minimal effort in there. You can barely tell there's hair there. It just looks like a weird shaped chin. And where there should be a lot of light gray in the foreground, there's just not. Another Jesus, he does a lot of Jesuses, and they all look the same. The weird, simply done lumpy hair, and just really dark, heavy, black backdrop stuff. These whips of black. This is sort of his MO. I saw it in a lot of these pieces, just heavy, dark black whipped in there with no real kind of intention or planning to it. Here's another one. Just, it's so hard to tell what's going on there. You need a minute to really kind of soak it in, but really, really low detail on this dove. Doves are white, by the way. They're not supposed to be this heavy dark like this shading in here, but again with the simple, cheap hair effect. It's very disappointing to see that on something so large. All these pieces are giant, but he doesn't take the time to put any of that detail in there. over and over again, I just saw these giant, heavy, dark pieces like this that I just could not. It takes you a minute to tell what they are. They're just so heavy and dark. And then when you really get in, you can see the details really inconsistent, just over and over and over again. The last one I want to show you guys is these roses. Really not a fan of these cheaply done roses. There's no real shading to speak of in here, no real light source, and just really goofy shape to those roses. I'll show you the other one too, because I don't like this weird loop-de-loop here. What is that? You're not going to see that on any rose in nature. That's just strange looking. And then also, each of these leaves has the midlines, the vein lines down it. But then this one's just missing them. He just decided that one doesn't need them. The rest of them do, that one doesn't. But overall, my biggest beef with this piece, obviously there's line errors, shaky lines. You can tell you're struggling there. That's why you got some thick ones, some thin ones, really shaky. But then the shading he did behind the name is just an afterthought. It's just so scratchy and just randomly put in there. It's in some places, but not in other places. Again, just really cheap, quick work. And it's frustrating to see this kind of stuff, because a lot of clients might see your portfolio, man, and they're going to think, oh, from a distance, maybe when they're looking at it on their phone screen and it's tiny, they think it looks good. But that's what my show's for. I want to show people when you zoom in, you got to look for these red flags. You got to look for where artists are cutting corners. And to be honest, this is the point where I would usually call you a hack. But I saw some of your paintings. Just cool shit. Man, I was really impressed. These are some things I would love to hang in my house. So it's hard for me to really give him a hard time or bash him too hard when I see some artwork like this. So obviously he is an artist, and he loves art and all that, and you can see it in his paintings. So at the end of the day, I think what I'm really complaining about is just his application technique and the fact that he's rushing really bad. So anyway, that's my advice to you, Louise. You gotta slow it down, man. You're rushing through. You're just giving these people quick scratch-up jobs. You're covering a lot of space really fast, and you're probably making good money doing it, but that's just not fair to the clients. If you're gonna tell people you can do realism, you gotta give them realism. You can't give them some half-assed version of it. Also, I saw that you and your wife are still using old school coil machines, and I think that might be part of your problem. They're so hard to tune, they're so hard to keep consistent, especially some of the cheap ones that you were using. So I would recommend modernizing what you're doing. You know, try some of these new rotaries out. I think a large chunk of the artists have converted over to rotaries, and it's for a reason. It'll make your life a lot easier. But if you're not willing to convert, then you need to make a specific tattoo machine that is just for light grays. Medium and light grays. Make your machine tuned specifically just for that, and that will be a separate machine that you never use for anything else. But that's my advice to you. Slow it down. Give them more for their money. Moving on though, guys, stick around. I found an unbelievable artist that just shocked the hell out of me. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hey guys, before I show this next artist, I want to remind everybody that you can definitely help expose a hack. If you know of one that's in your city, just send us a message to the email that's down below. Send their name, the studio, whatever you got, and we'll gladly put them in the show. But don't worry, all submissions are going to be confidential, so have no fear. We're not going to put you on blast for doing a good deed. That's it. Now let's get back to the artwork. Alright, you guys, strap in. This is one of the most shockingly good artists that I have found in a long time. I mean, trust me, I look at amazing artists all day, every day, and Brian Ulibari here is a cut above the rest. He is at the pinnacle. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you want to find him, he owns his own studio there in Santa Fe. You can check it out at brianulibari.com. Amazing website, by the way, Brian. This is just beautiful. Also, check out his Instagram, Brian_Ulibari on Instagram. I definitely followed him because I want to keep up with some of this artwork, some of the most amazing stuff you'll see. Let me kick it off by showing you some of his realism lines, because Louise did a ton of lions, and I think the average person might see them and see them from a distance and think that, oh, that's a good artist, that's an amazing looking piece. And I really want to show the contrast here, because I don't want clients to be deceived. I want clients to take the time to zoom in and really look for some of these red flags. With Brian's, look at these whiskers. He individually did multiple whiskers, and instead of just trying to blast white over top of it at the end, he actually shaded around the whiskers to leave space for the white at the end. That's a major, major difference. One artist is doing the quickest route possible and just blasting white at the end as an afterthought, and the other artist is planning it from the get-go. Again, with the mouth, he did not black it out. The teeth are not all just the simple same tooth and same shape. I love the texture on the tongue here with the little white dots, just beautiful. And that's very important stuff to give you that field of depth. And look at the hair up here. This is not just whipped in easily with a large mag, or a large shader. He went in there with small, tight mags, tight liners, and created each individual flow of hair and planned out the direction of it. Here's another one, just black and gray piece this time. The last one, this is actually an opaque gray. It's done in color. Makes it even more impressive if you ask me. But this one's just black and gray shaded. Same thing. Look at that soft texture. Tell me that doesn't look like your cat's tongue. Who's got a cat at home and you've seen their tongue, you've seen that texture. That is what a cat's tongue looks like. Now, he used a lot of heavy black around the outside here, but the difference is that it's super intentional. Very, very intentional, because that's accentuating the inner gums, the teeth, the tongue, all that. That dark background makes all those stand out. Now, I know this isn't really fair, but let's compare the two side by side here. Now, do you guys see what I'm talking about? Over here, we got Luis's again with these just giant, a couple really giant whiskers, call it good. Here we go with Brian's work. Just nice, smooth, many whiskers, looks natural. Look at the teeth here. Like I said, this lion looks like it was wearing braces for a while. They're all the same size and shape and in a perfect straight line. That is not how teeth look on a lion at all. And the major difference between just blacking out the mouth instead of actually giving it that depth and doing that detail. One is done really quickly, if I had to guess, probably in about 10 minutes. And the other one, I don't even want to guess. Actually, I would love to pick Brian's brain about how long these take him and what needle groupings he's using, because some of this stuff is just phenomenal, blows my mind. Look at this. He had to go in here with different tones of brown individually with a really, really tight liner and create that flow. And that looks as realistic as it can get. Not to mention blending the background in between those light colors. Amazing. And he even gave it nostrils, as you should. I love it, just shocking stuff. This little clip down here. This would have been something I think a lot of artists would have just left out, because you don't need it. It's not what the piece is all about. But this clip is just so 3D looking. You can tell what that is from a distance. Look at that. And I like that he didn't just do a simple glare effect in the eye. You can almost see the reflection of the background of whatever this puppers was looking at. And I like that. It's not just simple. He copied that photo to a T. Just beautiful, beautiful work. He has, when he does colors, sometimes he'll do this sort of painted on look. I love these kind of backgrounds. I'm a big fan of them. But the part of this I wanted to show is that it's right in the crease of our armpit here. And again, a lot of artists would have cut this off right there, because this is really squishy, stretchy skin that we just don't really like to tattoo. It blows out very easily. It heals very kind of dodgy. You're not sure if it's going to hold the ink right, but he had no fear. He went in there, got some great detail. There's no blowout. It looks very, very clean. Another just amazing, hyper-realistic, fine line realism stuff. Just blows my mind. This is the kind of stuff that I'm a huge fan of, and I would be super honored to wear any one of his pieces. He is so great with his contrast where it needs to be, lighter tones where it doesn't, and I just, yeah, this little tuft of down hair right here on the ear elevates this piece for me so much. This ear is sort of out of focus, and you can see that it gets more out of focus the farther left it gets, but having this so in focus, having this tight detail, just elevates the whole piece. I mean, it's mind-blowing as it is to do all these tiny little tufts. Trust me, I did an owl recently, spent many an hour doing those tiny little tufts in there, and these tiny little straight hairlines near the beak line. That's just very, very tedious stuff. Trust me, you don't necessarily want to have to do it, but if you're paying for a tattoo, you hope that you get an artist that's willing to spend the time. Again, with the reflection in the eye, a lot of artists would just do one dot of white, call it good, or two dots of white, call it good, because we know when the client sees that white put in at the end, that it's going to blow their mind. It adds this sort of high definition look to it, and it's always going to look good. So a lot of artists will just do one dot of white, call it good. They know the client will be impressed. He actually does like an actual reflection on the eye of genuine light source, and I love to see that. A little bit more attention to detail. This one was shocking to me. Again, just another thing with his depth. These claws coming at you, again, elevates the piece to something totally different, totally new. It's coming at you, and that's what you want in a tattoo. That's going to make it really just stand out and pop really, really well. Great planning on that part. I think for this one, some of you that aren't artists, you might not know how difficult this kind of thing really is. Obviously, he did black and gray on one side and color on the other side. Now, if I'm being honest, sometimes I have days I don't even want to do a color piece after I did a black and gray piece, because they're such different mindsets. You really need to be in a different mindset with different planning, and it's a different approach because they're applied so differently. And to have this perfectly clean line here and to do one side color, one side gray, it just blows my mind. I believe this is the guy from Peaky Blinders. I don't know the actor's name. Put it in the comments if you know the actor's name. But also, I love when artists know how to do this realistic smoke detail. It's always just such an amazing thing, because you have to shade in between that white smoke, and that just very, very difficult. You gotta pre-plan it. You gotta have some experience. It's not something you can just kind of lazily whip in there quickly. There's no quick way to do that and to get that effect at all. I love seeing his animals because he does a lot of this really small detail in the hair, and every single one of them you could see this really, really small tight detail with the hair, and it just makes them, like I said, way above a lot of artists' work out there who just, especially like Luis, he would just do some quick whipping in there with that black shading, and somebody that might not know any better might think that looks good until you compare it to something like this. Here's one where he did a cover-up. Now, I complained a lot about Luis's cover-ups because a lot of times you could see it through the piece. You could just clearly see it through the old piece. You could see it through the new piece. Now, this one, I have to point out some things. This guy was covering up this big, red, bold tribal. To be honest, if you came in asking me to cover that up, I would probably just say no. I don't know. Nowadays, I don't like to tackle him unless I'm 100% sure that it's not going to show through. But the confidence that Brian has here is just incredible. First, we'll check out this tongue here. You can see the red streak comes right through the bottom side of the tongue. Let's see what he did with that. He just added more and changed the shape of the tongue so that it's in a more dark area. But as you can see, it comes right through this sort of cheek line here, the lighter part of the mouth, and you can see it's right there. That's where the darker lines would be, and he just made it a crease or a fold in the mouth and the gums there. I just thought that was amazing. Amazing planning and and a great way to cover something up on the fly like that. That's just amazing. Amazing knowledge of what he was doing going in. And I'm also really shocked at how simplistic his purple stencil is here, because for the amount of tight, small detail, it shows he doesn't need much. He doesn't need much of a reference. He needs the general shape of where things are, and then he's winging a lot of these tight details in there as he goes. And he's making these changes as he goes to adapt. And yeah, that's just shocking to me, really. Another just amazing cover-up. I feel bad for the guy that had this. I have no idea what that even was. But apparently it was on a fellow artist, tattoo artist. He came to him for the cover-up, and man, he knocked it out of the park. Look at all this negative lightning. Really, really amazing. I know how time-consuming that is to put that lightning streak through there and to plan around it. But again, with the small detail in the eyes here, this sort of textured, scaly look to the skin, those creases in the lip there, that's just beautiful to me. Beautiful, beautiful work. Beetlejuice, oh my god. Again, with the small texture in the hair. I just recently did a Heath Ledger piece, and Heath Ledger has that incredibly thin hair, and it's very, very time consuming. You gotta go slow, you gotta plan it out. But to get this frizzy effect that he did here, yeah, you can absolutely tell that he's an artist by nature. He's been doing this a long time. He knows exactly what he's doing. Last but not least, I had to show this piece because I'm a huge Star Trek dork, and I once upon a time wanted to get a Captain Kirk tattoo, and so I just thought that this was brilliant. Because back in the day when they were on TV, the way they filmed it, they really upped the saturation and the contrast, and so all of them had this weird sort of glow to their skin that, you know, if you see it on a high-def TV nowadays, it looks really kind of blown out and weird. But I love that he imitated it perfectly. That looks exactly how it looked on TV way, way, way back in the day. Another point of interest is this very cool spacescape that he did in the backdrop. Spacescapes are not something that you can just wing it. You really want to know going in where you're going to put your details and what kind of details. And I don't know about Brian here, but I actually anytime I do one, I have to study different actual images of space and come up with a plan, because it's very intentionally chaotic. You can't just whip in detail and make it kind of like blotchy and looking like space. It's not going to work. You have to plan it out. Brian, you're an unbelievable artist, man. Truly, I've always thought of myself as a decent artist. I've always had confidence, but looking at your work, you're at the pinnacle, my friend. You're an incredibly versatile artist. You deserve all the success that you have. You really do. Your studio looks beautiful too, by the way. So keep doing what you're doing, man. Very impressive. And alright, you guys, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you get notified. We put out new episodes every week. We go to different cities every week, and we might be coming to your city soon. So, stick around. We'll be back next week. And in the meantime, if you're hunting for an artist, don't forget to zoom in. Alright, we'll see you next week. Bye.